So today we are going to talk about APIs and RESTful APIs, and we are going to build some APIs using Node.js and Express. So these are the topics that I'm going to talk today. What is an API, and what is a RESTful API, and the anatomy of a request. We are going to look at how a request looks like, and in the demo we are going to build some REST APIs. So what is an API? Anyone knows what is an API? So API stands for Application Programming Interface, uh, which we use to get the data from the backend and to communicate with the backend and create a connection between the front end and the backend. So this is how API works in a technical way. So we are going to request some data from the backend, and the API is going to the backend say that I need this information, and once he got the information, API is going to give it back to the front end. So if we look at some example, like a real life some real life analogy, yeah, we can imagine a restaurant which is there will be waiters, customers, and the kitchen. So in this scenario, a waiter is going to act like the API, and the customer will be the front end, and the kitchen will be the back end, which is where the food is prepared. So in this scenario, waiter is going to take the order from the customer and give it back to the kitchen to make. And once the meal is prepared, he's going to get it back and give it to the customer. So that's how API works. So what is REST? So RESTful means, it doesn't mean that it's something. It means rest, some kind of relaxation. No, REST stands for representational state transfer. Basically, it's a set of rules that we have follow when we are creating APIs. For example, that we one of these rules are rules to state that you should be able to get a piece of data when we go to a specific URL. So that's RESTful. That's what REST means, and what are that's RESTful APIs. So anatomy of a request. A request contains the four main parts, like the endpoint, the method, the headers, and the data or body. So the endpoint is the route or the URL we request for. For example, we can say slash user slash some kind of a username or something like that. That's the endpoint, and we have uh, some HTTP methods that we use to get or add data, to delete data, to operate, uh, to create, to do the basic CRUD operations, which is create, read, update, and delete. So if it is to create, we are going to use a post method. If it is to read, we are going to use the get method. And if it is to update, we are going to use the put method. And for deleting, we are going to use the delete method. So the headers are used to provide information to both the client and server. Uh, Actually, there are it can be used for many purposes. For example, we use them for authentication and to provide information about the body content, like if it is JSON or some kind of form data, things like that. So the data or the body is where that the information that we share we going to give it, we are going to send or we are going to get uh, is stored. That's the body. So that's those are the main parts of a request. So now we know what is an API, what how it works, and what is RESTful APIs, and how a request look like. So let's uh, create some APIs. So I mentioned that I'm going to use Node.js and Express to create the endpoints, and I'm going to use MongoDB to store that data. The special reason to use Node.js and Express is it uses JavaScript, and I really like JavaScript, and also I mostly work on the front end. So this stack is really great for me, so that I can build a full stack application with JavaScript, uh, and so yeah. So let's head over to the VS Code. So in here I have initiated the package.json file and installed some dependencies and some dev dependencies. One of them is the body parser, which is a middleware that Node.js uses, and Express. Also, I have installed Express and MongoDB and Mongoose. Mongoose, we are going to use Mongoose to create schemas, so that we can validate those values. We can use we can validate the values. So I have installed Babel to compile my code into browser readable code, and a Nodemon for uh, create my node server, which is going to if we didn't use Nodemon, we have to start the server after every change we done. But with Nodemon, it's going to detect the changes, and it's going to uh, start the server automatically. So this is the how the package.json file looks like. So I created the server. So I imported the Express and created my Express app and give it a port, which is going to run on port 3000. And here I connect to the database, which is the Ceph. It is the collection is called Ceph. So I have passed the body parser as the middleware, which is used to parse the JSON between the request and the database. And we are going to start the server, and we're going to listen.
It's depreciated.
Yeah.
Just joke. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we're going to listen to the port 3000, and I'm just console logging that the service started on this port. So yeah, let's create our first model. Let's create a folder called models, and create a file called contact. We are going to create a model for a contact JS. So in here, I'm going to import Mongoose schema from mongoose is the schema. Let's create a variable called contact schema and create the instance of the schema. In here, we are going to define our contact schema. Let's say we have a first name and we have to give it a type. So it will be a string, and we can mention whether it's required or not. So I guess let's say it's required, and let's give it a message that to show that if the user haven't provided the first name, let's say first name is required. Then we are going to have okay. We are going to have a last name as well, which is going to be a string. Let's say we have email also, which is going to be a string again. Let's create a, let's add the date also. So let's create it, which is the type is going to be date, and we are going to provide the default value for this. It's going to be the moment that the schema is this contacts going to be created. So yeah, we created our first schema, and let's import this. Export default contact schema. Yeah, we created our schema. Then let's create the controller for that. Controllers. In the controllers, I'm going to have contact. Yes. So in here, I need to import. We are going to create a model. So we have to import the model from mongoose. Mongoose. What did I say? It's model. Yeah. So let's import our model that we created. So import what was the name? Contact schema from its controllers. Yeah, let's create our model const contact, and it's going to be a model which is going to receive a name which is contact, and the the schema that we created. So yeah, we are going to implement a state endpoint to create a contact. So let's create that function. Let's say it's create contact or add new contact. Add new contact. It's going to be an arrow function and going to receive the request and the response. I will explain this part in a bit. So yeah, so we have the context, we have the contact model. Let's create a new contact. Let's say it's const new and say it's creates a new contact. So we are going to provide the contact details, which is we are going to receive in the body, request body. So I have to in the body I will be having the first name, the last name, and the email. And the first name is mandatory, but and then the other two are optional. So we created the new contact. Now we have to save it. So to save it, so we can call new contact dot save. In here I'm going to receive the if there's an error, we're going to receive it, or the contact going to receive the contact. Let's say if there's an error, let's say we are going to give that error to the user. So to create an error, I'm going to say res dot status. I'm going to give it a status of 400. And here in this JSON body, I can send the error. So if there's an error, the user get the error. So if there's no error, I'm going to give the going to give back the contact the contact that we just added. So we created the add new contact function. Let's export this. So now we have a controller and a model. So I'm going to create in here I'm going to create a router. So because we are going to have multiple endpoints. So let's call it router. Router. Call this router.js. Okay. So in here, I'm going to import the control that I created, which is I remember it was that it's controllers. Let's add new contact. Okay, so I imported the controller that I created. In here, let's create our router, which is called router. And here I'm going to pass the app, which is going to be our Express app. In here, we are going to define our endpoint. So this is going to be the path that we have to call in order to add our contact. So let's call it slash contact. And in here, we are going to give the method of that function, which is going to be a post because we are going to add something. So let's say post, and let's pass the uh, function that we created. Then let's export this for router. So we just created our router. In here, even though we created our router, we have to pass the app in order to this work. So in this JS file, I'm going to import the router from this src router. Okay, we got the router, and let's pass the app, which is going to be our Express app. So we created our first endpoint. And let's start the server and let's hope it works. Yeah, the service started. Let's head back to Postman, which is we are going to use for test the API that we created. So the endpoint is slash contact, and the service started on localhost 3000. The body, I'm going to give the first name, last name, and we have created the email. Say, let's com. Okay, let's hope this works. So it's not a get method, it's a post, which is we are going to use to create the contact. As you can see, it created the contact and give us back the contact that we got created. So
Contact object.
yeah, the contact object we just created. So we created our post request. Okay, there's then let's create another controller to get all the contacts. So it's going to be a new controller. You can call it get contacts. It's going to be an arrow function. Again, we are going to have request and a response. So in here, we are going to use contact.find method to get all the contacts, and we are going to in here where we need to mention what are the things that we need to get. In here I need to get all the things from every key value pair that has that in a contact. So we are saying that I need everything, and here I'm going to have a error and I'm going to receive the contacts. Again an arrow function. So if there's an error, I'm going to say response dot status. It's 400, and here I'm going to pass that error. Um, if I got the contacts, I'm going to give those if I get the contacts, I'm going to give them as the JSON body. So we created our get contacts method, and let's head back to our models. Sorry, for our router, and let's import that function that we created, which was get contacts. Here it's going to be a get method, so I'm going to say dot get. I'm going to pass the method, and again the service started, nothing, no errors. So if I call get slash contact endpoints, I should get all the contacts that in the database. The ID is going to be this one, and it's going to be a put method in the form. Let's say it's Sheldon Cooper. So let's update him as Michael Jackson. If I send this, it should work. Okay, it doesn't work.
අපට විශාල සබ්දයක් ඇසුනා.
Again, it doesn't work. Wait. This time it's find an update, find by ID. Oh yeah, I don't know why that happened. So it updated, I had to restart the server. So I'm getting an error. So we can, uh, if we define something, I can remember, but if we add, yeah, this one, if we use update, find and modify to false, it doesn't going to show this warning. So yeah, if you want to make sure that one got updated, there should be two Michael Jacksons. So get the all the contacts. Yeah, we have Michael Jackson, another Michael Jackson essay also here. So yeah, we implemented our put request. Now the last one, which is going to perform the delete method. So let's create that one as well. Export const. Let's call it remove contact. Um, and let's fine here. We're going to say contact.remove method. We're going to use that method. So in here, we have to define, say that we are going to delete the contact by ID. So, and the ID is, I'm going to receive the ID as a parameter. So it's the request dot param dot ID. And here I'm going to receive only the error because not going to receive a content because it's going to be deleted. So if there's an error, say I'm going to give the error, let's call 400, and the JSON body I'm going to send the error. So let's get back to our router and let's import the function that we created. What was that? Remove contact. Yes. So even so, the remove contact is also going to be the this endpoint because we need the ID. So it's going to be with delete request, and I'm going to pass the remove contact. Yes, actually, I can say something like respond if it is succeeded. You can say it's JSON body. Say it's a message, and it's going to say successfully deleted the account. The contact. Okay. So we created the delete method as well. Okay. So we are going to delete a contact, and I'm going to delete the contact by ID. Let's delete Michael Jackson because there are two Michael Jacksons. Slash ID. We don't need to pass anything. The body. Uh, okay, it's deleted. I cannot. I say. I don't know why. I had to restart the server. Yeah, the successfully deleted the contact. So we perform the basic CRUD operations. I'm going to conclude this session. So thanks for listening.